Hello, everyone. I'm Jolie Lash, Deputy Editor at TheWrap. We are so happy you are here for our 2022 Emmy Awards screening of Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls with Director Nneka Onuorah. We're going to be showing a clip, and then we will go right into our conversation with Nneka. Audience, please take part in the live chat of the stream. Share your thoughts about the show. I know you have them. And let us know where you're tuning in from. Now, before we welcome Emmy-nominated director Nneka, let's roll the clip.
You gotta rehearse full out. You gotta learn full out so that by the time you're on that stage, everything just comes effortlessly. I wanna see who can dance outside of their body, who can really release and let go and have fun. People who just really fucking love to dance. When I say cue the music, you're gonna dance for me.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I'm ready. Cue music. Each girl had 1 week to prepare 2 8 counts of freestyle. Let's go. Let's go. Woo! Look at that! Let's go! Hey! Okay! Yeah! But they also had to learn 40 seconds of some big girl choreography that we already do. Hey! Hey! Call me little buttercup. Call me, bitch. So I want to see you do you, but can you do what we do in the crew? Let's see. Let's go. Twerk skills. Twerk skills. Can you still give me that personality? Can you still give me some face? I'm a thick bitch. I need tempo. Even more importantly, you have to know how to perform under that pressure. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Look it up. Okay.
Oh my God.
How do you feel? You did it.
I did it for you.
You did it.
Welcome back. It's my pleasure to introduce Emmy-nominated director Nneka Onuorah. Nneka!
Hi, Emmy-nominated. That's a new title in front of my name. It's like it feels like when maybe doctors get their doctorate. It's like, wow, oh my God.
Well, let's go back to the moment when you heard about your nomination. The show was nominated, had 6 nominations overall, but to see your name, did someone call you? Talk us through that moment, Emmy nomination day.
Definitely. I was in London, like right in front of Big Ben, shooting B-roll with my crew, 2 of which who had worked with me previously on Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls, 1 sound person from the sound department and 1 person from the camera department. And so I'm literally eating a bagel with like some meat and English mustard on it. And I'm like, dang, this is good. I'm just like going in on details of the sandwich I'm eating.
Yeah.
I'm talking about old war stories from production with my DP. And he's from London. And then I looked down at my phone, just happened to look down at my phone, and I saw congratulations several times. Had no idea that the Emmys were even being announced because I rarely pay attention to awards and things like that. Like that's not even ever on my mind. And so they said, congratulations, lady. And I'm like, congratulations on what? And they're like, on Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls. I'm like, oh yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you watched the show. And they're like, no, like you got nominated for an Emmy. And I was like, oh my God, the show got nominated. That's amazing. I'm hype. I'm like telling everybody, I'm telling everybody around me the show got nominated. They said, you got outstanding directing. I said, what? Me? Yeah. Like, so I'm just in a shock. And then they're like, and cinematography and audio. So literally you see my camera guy start like screaming and then literally my sound person as well started screaming as well. So we all kind of got the news simultaneously. So it's like this ripple effect, but it was so beautiful. Lizzo sent flowers to London. And it was just like a beautiful experience. It was such a labor of love and a show that we really put our hearts into. And so to see it nominated was like amazing.
And you're the first woman to be nominated as a director in this category ever. When did that moment, when did you get to take that moment in? Because that's impressive.
Just now.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like, just being the only woman nominated in a category shows how much work we have to do in terms of representation. I'm so glad that Amazon and Lizzo and the producers on this team brought me to come and be able to direct this story, because there's not a lot of people who look like me that have directed multicam shows before. And I'm not sure why. And so to see that happen shows that change is definitely coming. And I'm happy to be a part of that change. And I'm happy that this particular show was a show that it happened on, because it's about damn time, as Lizzo says, that, we start, giving a voice to the voiceless. And that's really why I do my work. So I'm extremely happy.
So you were nominated for the Naked episode. I can't wait to get into that, but I want to, pull it back a little bit, start at the beginning. I know you and Lizzo were on the same page when you were approaching this project. You came from the same perspective. You wanted to showcase the same things. Tell me about it coming up and sort of what your conversations were like with the folks who are involved at the show.
Absolutely. Lizzo, Amazon, these two producers, Maya Coy and Micaiah Green, when we all had a call in the beginning and they mentioned this to my agency and they were like, let's do this project. First of all, I've been asked to do Lizzo's projects for years leading up, but the timing never worked out. So they said this was Lizzo. We were talking about dancing, plus size women, and they said it was a reality competition series, loosely competition series. And I was like, well, I come from a documentary background. I've never really done a reality show. And so what I told them, I was like, if I do this, I want to create a docuality. And so what that meant to me, I was like, I want to revolutionize the genre and really create, let the story lead before the format. And I thought that was super pertinent, because we're dealing with women who haven't been able to share their voice front and center stage on a mainstream platform such as this. And I felt like their stories were so powerful when I saw the casting reels, and I think Amazon was into the docuality, and I think we fulfilled that mission. Lizzo is so rambunctious, like so audacious, so honest, so bold, confident, and those are a lot of things that I am. And I used to be a dancer before I actually started directing, and so and I was a plus size dancer as well. So I've experienced a lot of the rejection that comes with that, and a lot of the stereotypes and all that stuff. And I wanted to show off the athleticism, the uniqueness, the boldness. I was like, we don't need to make this a sad story. We don't need to add stakes. When you watch a reality show, you see people add all of these stakes to it. Like, oh, let's throw in this or throw in that. No, being a plus size woman, being a woman of color, being a trans woman, all these different things really are stakes themselves. And so these women went through internal competitions with themselves, and that was enough. And so we made it an honest, authentic experience in telling the story. And that's all I wanted to do.
And I know from having talked to you before the show came out that you actually employed more cameras. You directed the camera folks to really romanticize people's curves. Can you talk a little bit about, the look that you were going for? Because you have so many cameras, such beautiful footage. And it's every single frame is a photo.
Yes, that literally, I'm so inspired by immersiveness. I love intimacy. I really love it. And I felt like I wanted to create an intimate experience with the audience. We're just coming out of COVID. People are they have been on their couches in their houses. They haven't been outside. And this is dance. I wanted to bring the audience into the experience and the bodies of these girls and the boldness. And so, a lot of people were trying to push me to keep these cameras on tripods still and zoom lenses to zoom in. And that's not how I work. I really consider myself an alchemist in terms of a director. Like, I'm literally making a potion. I'm looking at people, I'm studying, and I'm figuring out how all these things work together. And I told my DP, Jake, I said, we're taking these cameras off sticks. I need a camera. And instead of creating a shot list of what shots, each camera are calling shots in a headset to people, I made the people the shot list. You were focused on romanticizing this. I took the zoom lens off. I wanted us to be on primes. I wanted us to be close. Yeah, you have to switch lenses and you have to run back into the dance sequence to shoot it. But I'm doing that to create an energy between the person who's shooting it and the person who's dancing, because I want the energy to be organic and feel alive versus like you watching someone dance as if you're an outsider. And so that was a primary thing I wanted to ensure that we did as a director on this, is because in order to create empathy, you have to feel and experience something that you never have before. So how do I do that? I have to bring someone into it. And so that's what I focused on. I wanted people, whether you're plus size or not, we've all experienced rejection. We've all experienced feeling low self-esteem at times. We've all experienced greatness too, and being a badass and, you know, being the best. And we've done all of those things. And I wanted us to not miss a beat on any of that. So that was really my focus, on creating an interactive, immersive experience. I might call it like a little ghetto 3D. It doesn't have all this complicated technology, but it's a artistic way of bringing people close to the culture. So that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, I had one last sort of overall question before we get into the Naked episode, and that was, knowing that you had Prime Video as your forum for this, it reaches a really wide audience. Did that sort of change your approach at all?
Absolutely. Prime Video is a global platform. It's the best platform, period. I feel like they've been so good to me, and they've pushed, as far as diversity, they've pushed that narrative. Like, a lot of companies say diversity, you know, we want, you know, diverse directors. No, Prime Video has put their money where their mouth is, and I really respect it. And so the experience with Prime Video specifically, I feel like, you know, because I knew it was going to be a global platform, I had to make sure that I approached all stories with nuance. We have a woman who's Korean on the show. Like, what does part of that is about? What does you know, Korean culture look like as far as like a plus size dancer? What's the stereotype for Korea versus people who are Christian, versus people who are trans, versus people who are Black? There's so many different stereotypes, versus people who are Black and go to an all-white school. There's so many different nuances. And so what's so special about Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls is just the diversity of all the cast, and the fact that we tapped into nuanced experiences. So even if you might not experience one thing from one girl, you'll definitely get it from another. And so that was that as a director, that's what I really solely focus on, is nuance, authenticity, and telling the story in a way that people don't usually get to hear it, because people say it's not commercial enough. And on Prime Video, there was none of that. We didn't have to like stick to the commercial narrative. I could get real. So I appreciated that.
And you did get real with these girls. I thought the Naked episode, that is really a big Lizzo episode. This is all about her body positivity and trying to share that with these women who have faced, you know, unkind words and discrimination in their chosen field. I would love to know a little bit about your talks with Lizzo ahead of this episode, because it is so connected with her as an artist and who she is as well.
Lizzo was first of all, it took a level of vulnerability from Lizzo, which Lizzo was putting music out and people were ridiculing certain things online during that time. And Lizzo was so vulnerable to share that with so many of the girls. And so by the time we got to the Naked episode, I feel like there was such a deep connection between Lizzo and the girls. And then in general, Lizzo put the girls first in so many ways, because it wasn't just about her trying to find backup dancers. Lizzo has lived their experiences and want to make them shine. And she still does to this day in all of her projects. And so the conversations with Lizzo was really about protection of the girls. And beyond the TV, but beyond us making a show, we literally, like, after I would shoot, I would spend time with the girls, share my stories, my vulnerabilities, things I experienced. The girls would share with me. We would spend time together. It was a real thing. And that's, again, using my documentary background to help create protection and safety, which was a very key for myself and Lizzo, is that these girls feel safe, they feel heard, and they feel protected. And so that was like a big part of our jobs, is to make sure that they felt that way and they felt seen as well. So
yeah, Isabel being an example, you know, when she heard, you know, you mentioned her before, and the Korean culture, because she reacted very strongly when she heard there was going to be a nude photo shoot. As the director, when you see someone, you know, breaking into tears, how does your game plan change in order to capture the truth of that moment? That was a hard moment for her, and you guys worked with her, but, you know, you're reacting in real time.
Absolutely. Reacting in real time, which means having care for the people who are sharing their stories. So if we're shooting someone, taking the camera off of them for a second. I check in. Are you okay? How are you feeling? The girls will talk to me in between scenes sometimes. I'm just really anxious right now. I'm hurting right now. Or today's a bad day. I'm not feeling my body today. Or, you know, whatever it was in the moment, I stopped and I talked to each girl about what it was so we could work through it. And saying that you're not forced to do anything. Your story is your story. So if you don't feel like, you know, you want to be completely nude, we have other props. We have other ways to do this. It's all about your story. There's nothing that there's no like, you know, we're not pushing an agenda on any of the girls. And so I think that was a part of it. It's just like when we need to stop filming for a second, there's so many girls. We have other stories to follow. Some of the girls really were excited about the nude photo shoot, you know. And so just having understanding and empathy is important. And I feel like that's part of what people felt when they watched it, is that it just felt like care, you know, care, just deep care and being seen. And so I would focus on that. I'll say, let's cut, you guys, cameras, focus over there. Let me talk to Izzy for a second. Let me talk to Charity for a second. Whoever it was, let me talk to Sydney for a second. And I would focus on just hearing them and figuring out how we can strategize around the truth of the moment for them.
So what I was curious about, because there's a photo shoot involved, you're not behind the camera person because the photographer is part of the story. So how did you approach shooting the women as they did the photo shoot, knowing you got to be respectful of their boundaries, you know, because you're filming them as they're doing their poses, which is, you know, puts another layer of stress, I would imagine, on the dancers.
Absolutely. I really feel like, I mean, at that point when we were shooting the naked episode, the girls were completely used to us. Like, we made that episode a little bit further down the line so that the girls were comfortable all together. Yeah. But I think also like choosing where we would shoot from, what angles, you know what I mean? Sometimes you need to shoot from a little more far away until everyone gets comfortable, then we'll move up. And I'm into feeling, I'm very intuitive in terms of people. My degree is actually in psychology first.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I can feel when I have social cues when I know someone may be uncomfortable, or maybe someone wants more of the camera, whatever it is. And so those social cues tell me how to move. And sometimes I'll go, you know what, let's put that zoom lens on right now. Let's just let them get into their vibe for their photo shoot and respect the photographer's process. And then we'll push in. So typically I give people time to settle in and start and get comfortable so that they don't feel like they're presenting for the camera. That's a big part of it. So everything feels organic. And like when you tell stories, you're so much a part of the moment. Like there's no way to like be completely invisible. And so that's why it's so important to open yourself up to the journey of learning and healing and growing with them, because there's no way that you can't be a part of it. So
I can't imagine what it's like with you on set with that psychology background, being able to talk to people. That has to create a bond that not a lot of people who go on camera are used to have someone who, you know, comes from that education.
Absolutely. It's, you know, it's so funny because as you know, growing up as a child, I ask why all the time. I will not stop asking why. I'm like the Google rabbit hole girl. Like, I'm like, do fish ever get dehydrated? Like, I just have so many questions in my head about the most random things, and I need to like dig until I get to the bottom of it. And it's so innate. And so directing and interviewing and telling stories and getting to know people is something that's so innate in my spirit. So I feel like I'm truly living in my purpose and what I'm supposed to do in life. And I feel like part of that background is so helpful because it helps me for backstories with people. It helps people how to move forward, how to feel comfortable. I mean, I've had to direct some of like really big, like from billionaires to people who have been locked up in jail for years. I directed Barack Obama. Like I've done Sean Combs. I'm doing Meg Thee Stallion now. I've done people who are locked up in prison for no reason at all, like unjustly. So I have so many different types of people that I've had to interact with culturally and socially. And I find it important because I feel like part of my mission and my purpose as a director is to understand the world, create empathy, and also connect cultures that may not necessarily understand each other. And so part of it is removing myself and removing the parts of me that make me me, using them when necessary, but also removing myself and opening myself to learn the way other people experience things so I can help connect other people who don't understand to it. So I'm constantly putting myself through that process of erasure, then authenticity, then building a, what is my if then statement, from there. So that's kind of how I look at things.
I love the staying openness of it. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about Jayla and the representation in that particular episode. She opened up about being a transgender woman and obviously some of the hate that she received over the years as she, told people who she was. And that was I felt so much empathy for her. I wanted to just hug her and embrace her. Can you talk a little bit about getting her to open up? And I mean, she's so great when she opens up. She is so amazing.
Jayla is one of the realest people I've ever met in my life. What I love about Jayla is when Jayla's confident, she's confident. When Jayla's feeling like, I feel low, I'm scared, she feels that. She feels everything 100% honestly. And she's a Taurus. I know all their signs, but she's a Taurus. She's a Taurus, and so she has this nurturing thing about her as well. And so, when people think you're strong, sometimes they don't think to ask. But I know that better than that. I was born from a Taurus. I'm an Aries Taurus cusp. So I used to always go to her, and in between scenes, she'd come to me and be like, Nneka, like, I know I'm going home. I don't feel, I'm not feeling it today. Da 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 da. Said, Jayla, look how far you come. Eyes on the prize. Let's go. You're amazing. What, you think you made it this far just off of luck? And sometimes she would get stuck. You made it here because you're amazing. You're great. Go. Let's go. Let's do it. And I'll just start clapping, and she'll get back into it. She could tell you all these stories. We were just talking about on Instagram the other day how just in between stuff, she'd come to me. And in so many ways, like a lot of people who are on set don't break the fourth wall, but it's not how it functions. These are not characters that we drew or wrote in the script. These are human beings. And Jayla's a beautiful human being, one of the most beautiful I ever met. And there's so much nuance as a trans woman. I'm a part of the LGBTQ community. I'm not binary. I understand how hard it is sometimes to balance yourself into your full, to feel 100% sometimes. And so, I related to Jayla in that way. And so I was able to use my own experience and selfhood to relate to her personal experiences, which are different than mine, but we could still connect to each other. And so I love that. Jayla's just one of the most incredible human beings ever.
She clearly is my favorite from watching all of it. I loved when she took the tumble and then she got back up and kept dancing in one of the episodes. She fell off the stage. She hurt herself. Like that was a decent sized drop, and that woman kept going.
Yep. She just has the tenacity. And we made sure they were all safe on set, and made sure we had people checking them constantly. And they all want to keep going, but also being a part of a big girl's understanding when you need rest and when you need help and when you need support. And so we tried to foster that nurturing connection too. Lizzo's sister was around in the house even sometimes, being a nurturing support to them as well. And so that was helpful too. They always had some support, emotional, physical, everything. So, we seen them want to push through, but we took care of them to make sure that, they were safe to keep dancing.
Yeah, and during this episode, the performance aspect of it, Moesha actually took a tumble off stage. She had been having trouble with her ankle all season long. She just kept going, and you managed to capture her basically perfectly getting up and getting back into the flow. Tell me a little bit about, how you instructed your team to be able to capture those moments like that, because it's such a great moment on that episode.
Oh yeah, we don't miss a beat. In every camera is assigned a person or a specific activity, whatever it is, and they follow it all the way through, because we have to track all of their stories and edit, which is a lot of stories to track. And so we didn't miss a beat. We had everything covered, whether it was like each girl individually, we're watching them constantly on the screens, we're looking in person, Lizzo's watching. So we made sure we had a camera on everything so we could capture. Maybe a camera was assigned, you're assigned Isabel, Charity, and this person. And they had to stick there. So anything that would happen with them, we know is with this camera. But, you know, and the same went for the rest of the girls. So that's kind of how we function.
I got a little technical question for you. They break through. They write something on the glass that means something to them, and then they break through it. What was that made out of? What they break through?
What it was like some kind of like
sugar or something, or
something like that. Something like sugar or another. But it was a safe thing of glass that we swept up once we finished. But we knew we had to get that tape correct because it was a real moment for the girls to write their names, and they had to break through. And once they're broken through, that's it. There's no more mirrors. So we had to, like, you know, be very strategic about that take and know that we covered everything, because we couldn't clean that up again. And obviously we didn't have like actual glass because we don't want to hurt the girls. So.
Yeah, the wonder of it all. It's, you know, you have that moment, and then if someone hadn't have broken through properly, that would have been a disaster because you couldn't have done it.
Yes, exactly. So we already knew. The girls knew too. They had a lot of dance rehearsal for that sequence, but we knew that we had to make sure that all went right when they were dancing. And we did a great job. I had a great, you know, our team was really, really sharp. Our AD team helped with that. So that was great.
The other part of the performance aspect is watching Lizzo watch these women. And, you know, she threw her drink. She threw her drink in the pool during that episode, and you guys caught it on camera. We have the scene of two of the glass sitting in the water by itself. It was hilarious. You know, what are you looking for in those moments to put into the show when you're focusing on Lizzo? I mean, because you got to match things up. There's a lot of technical difficulties, I would imagine, or just things you have to address, right?
Yeah, this one is my forte. I live for unexpected. I work in live music, like award shows. I came up in award shows live, so there's no retakes. It's not pre-recorded. So everything about me almost shoots for the unexpected. And so we always had a camera. We always had a camera on Lizzo when we actually shot. And so we had a camera on her, and you know, you never know what to expect from Lizzo. She's the most hilarious, funniest person I've ever met. Like, you could just let her go. She needs to be in movies. She needs to be like in scripted cartoons, animation, just because naturally Lizzo is just so charismatic by herself. You give her a line and she just takes it to the next level. She's a brilliant writer. And so I always expected the unexpected from Lizzo, but I'm literally so improvisational. That's my dancing style. I love jazz music. So the improvisation is always like prepared to be ready for the unexpected.
Yeah, it must those moments that you just don't know what she's going to do, and it's always delightful. So she's something. She's a personality. So I want to talk a little bit about the show in general and sort of what happened on it, because you faced a really big challenge where the whole goal of the show is for these women to be able to dance with Lizzo at Bonnaroo, where she's doing a headline set. And then Bonnaroo and Tennessee, you know, experienced flooding and the festival was canceled. How did you rearrange your plans to deal with that? That was an incredible moment. As Lizzo said when I spoke to her, you couldn't script that.
No, you couldn't script it. We were all ready to go. I was like, okay, airport tomorrow.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. And you know what's so beautiful about it? I actually love that. Again, that goes back to the documentary process. I have no idea what I'm going to shoot, you know, the next day when I shoot a documentary. You know, we know more, you know, people know more so in reality what they're going to shoot that day. Mm-hmm. So I love the elements of surprise that kept happening. But what it taught the girls is that things happen. Some shows get canceled. And luckily, we have an A-list superstar, Lizzo, who had multiple shows, and we're like, why don't we just hop on the next show she had? And Lizzo had a show by herself. So initially we're going to do a big festival with lots of performers. So we actually had a lot more agency once we actually did the other show. So it almost worked out in our favor. And it was interesting to see the girls think that it was canceled and like initially get a little sad and worried, and then see that, you know, it had picked back up. We were really concerned about, you know, the well-being of the city. Obviously, but just to see the girls light up when they found out we were still going to do something. It was a beautiful moment because Lizzo tricked them. So
yeah, I'm curious about the difficulties you were presented with, because you have to go to this new setup. You've probably planned like crazy for Bonnaroo and how the stage is set up, the backstage area, the under the stage bits, and then you have to obviously transition sort of last minute. Were you up all night sort of preparing the night before for that one? I can't even imagine how much work that was.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of work. Our team had to use multiple strategies to reallocate funds and, you know, figure out how much more money this was going to cost. But that's what's great about it being a group effort. We have like event teams who shoot the actual event. So we were able to have help with coverage with the event. And then we were able to take our cameras to focus on covering the story. So what's beautiful about, you know, this type of genre with so many different hands in the pot and making this project, every department came in hard on like, here's an idea for this department for sound, here's an idea for this department for camera, and we all like decided what would be best. And luckily we had the event cameras that was shooting the concert already, and then we had cameras that we brought just to focus on our story. And luckily Treasure Island was so nice that they just let us have their space and their property, took us around and took us in very well. So
oh wow,
yeah.
So after the show, you're faced with the challenge of filming in the dark. Essentially, the decisions, right? Who gets to go with Lizzo on tour, who gets to come help her at various different music performances. It's dark, it's noisy. How did you approach that? Because that again was another sort of situation that you weren't expecting, I think, to have, you know, and then you have to have this big moment where these girls are finding out the end result.
Again, I think it's all an ode to our coverage strategy. You know, we didn't know who would be chosen, but we know whoever we got, we covered them when they would get chosen. Mm-hmm. So that was the beautiful thing about having so many cameras and having each camera have a focus, is that when someone did find out or didn't find out, we were already on them. And so that was just such a powerful moment, like a beautiful moment, actually, people getting chosen. And now if you watch Lizzo's award show performances or music videos, the girls are back there. I don't know if you see them, but they are still performing with her. They're working. Some of them got signed to agencies like Block Agency, which you've never seen, you know, this happen as much as it has now. And so it really is initiating change. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, Lizzo told me some of them went with her to the BET Awards. Some of them performed with her on Saturday Night Live. Just an incredible experience. You know, I have to ask you, approaching this show and knowing that everyone who started out at the beginning could win at the end, right? Winning wasn't obviously the goal of this show, but there were places for everyone if they came up to the standard that Lizzo needed of a dancer. That is such an interesting concept to get to play with. Was it fun? Was it?
I loved it. You know, you get attached to the girls. You don't want anybody to go home. When Moesha and Izzy went home, the girls and the people behind the scenes were crying for hours. It was in a very emotional moment. You're rooting for these women. You want them to win. You're going hard for them. You're spending time with them. And so I was hoping that wasn't the case, that, you know, no one would actually go home. But it's just like, you just get so attached. We're like a family, you know what I mean? So I was just like, dang, why does this have to happen? So that's the only thing, is like, if someone goes home every week, you know not to get too attached to anyone. But because you're rooting for everyone, you assume they'll always be there. So that was a hard part. So it, you know, I wouldn't call it fun, but I would say that I love that the idea that everyone could stay, because we knew it wouldn't be catty or anything like that, or no one in edit would try to make, you know, like I said, the drama or the stakes, but it would just be real. So
I'd love to know, as the show is going on, from your director perspective, what things did you see that you got to add into the show that you were particularly proud of, you know, that happened, you know, on the spot? For me, I was noticing such an amazing camaraderie occur between, you know, some of the dancers, a lot of the dancers, where they were supporting each other. And that was so beautiful to watch that.
I love the support. I love the intimacy of how close we got to get with the cameras. Like if you watch episode 3, when the girls are, you know, in with Rashida and they're like getting comfortable with their bodies and sensuality, and then Ari starts crying and just letting out about her experiences in COVID, it brought me to tears. But that level of intimacy and the way the cameras moved with them, it allowed you to feel like in a meditative state. I love that energy. I love the music. I loved how we got to sit with Lizzo and experience Lizzo simultaneously through the series, because they're paralleling experiences, even though she's, you know, in a different space than they are, just seeing the paralleled experience intersection of that. And I love that I just got to work with women of color. You just don't see it often. Just like in my category, you know, I've done lots of panels, I've done all this stuff, and I'm literally the only Black woman I've seen on any of these with me. And I'm just like, wow, it's a lot of work to do. So I think that that's been beautiful too, is just to see women of color have a space, like to just be, and not with any other, not in any negative way, but just to be who they are. And so that is like really revolutionary. And I feel honored to just be a part of that legacy.
Yeah. You know, you make me want to ask you if you have advice for young people who watch the show and are looking up to you and being like, she did it, I can do it too. You know, how do they get in? How do they pursue their passion like you did?
You know what? All of the obstacles that people told me I was gonna have, I almost ignored them so much. You know, you gotta think about it. I'm a Black director. I'm queer and I'm young. Like people think I'm younger than I am. People probably think I'm like in my early 20s or something like that. So people don't understand. Like people will assume so much about you by just looking at you. And I would say to young women or non-binary people or Black women or whatever, men, whoever, just knowing who you are, knowing that your authenticity enough, the story that you have to share is important to the world. Just the fact that I connect to so much of what the show connects to, and it connects to people who don't look like me at all, says a lot about how much humanity has in common. And so trust your unique, authentic humanity and what it could share to someone else, whether they know it or not. A lot of people, when I try to take those cameras off of tripods and I try to do all this stuff, they told me this wasn't going to work. No, we need this, we need that. And I stuck to my vision. Yeah, they were scared. They were scared. And I stuck to my vision. And then this is part of what people enjoyed about the show. Imagine had I just let it go. And so I really, really feel like you have to stick to your vision. If you have a vision and you can technically execute it and you've done the work, you have to stick to what your heart believes, what your story is, and how you want to get there, no matter what anybody says, because everyone is going to try to get you to do the status quo. But the reason you're different is to lead and to inspire and to create changes like this. So that's all I can say. I never in a million years thought I'm going to direct Barack Obama, or I'm going to like be a part of this story where I'm telling the story of plus size women in a positive way with Lizzo. There's just so many things that I never saw someone that looks like me do. So we need you. So please don't give up hope, and please don't go based on what you see. Because if I went based on what I see, I probably would not be here right now, Emmy nominated. So I'm just feel very blessed about that and very happy about that.
What drives you?
What drives me? I'm an empath. I feel like so many people need love, support, and I feel like self-love is a thing that is missing from so many of us. Like we think we have it, but we don't know what it truly means to love yourself. And I really want to help be a leader of self-love, because once we get ourselves together, we can do anything. We won't be looking at the next person in jealousy and envy or trying to put them down, but we'll really, really, really be trying to inspire. And so that is my key. The key is self-love. And so all of my work is centered around us looking at ourselves. So that's like literally my whole MO, driving self-love. I want everyone to feel that. Even the most person that people think is a villain, people that think they, you know, this person doesn't deserve it, this person is lower than me, different economic statuses. different parental experiences. I would like people to connect and love themselves, because once we do, the world is going to be so beautiful. And I believe that. So that's like what's driving me. I know we can get there.
Wow. So we have time probably for just a couple more questions. And I gotta ask you about, Lizzo is an international superstar. She's an icon. She is in demand. Her time had to have been precious on this show, but she is part of the show, and she is featured regularly in the show. She spends time with the women. She doesn't just come in to judge and leave. This is Lizzo's, show. So talk a little bit about working with somebody who has a very demanding schedule. She can't be late to things. She's probably got photo shoots and video shoots and appearances.
I've worked with a lot of artists that don't care about time. They think it's their world and everybody's visiting. That wasn't Lizzo. I don't remember a day Lizzo was late. I don't remember a day I said, Lizzo, do you mind repeating that again or doing this? That she said no. Lizzo did have a demanding schedule, but Lizzo showed up and she committed, period. She took this very serious. She was very hands-on. And so you don't see that all the time. A lot of people let their celebrity overshadow their work, and that is not Lizzo. And so that makes sense for where she is now. Why does she have the #1 song? Why does she have the #1 show? Why is she Emmy nominated, 6 times on her first try? These are the reasons for this, is because of her work ethic and her care, and her responsibility to what her dream was. And so this is not me saying this for any fluff. Lizzo was there on time. Lizzo was there every time. And so I respect that. That's what I respected so much about her. And then the way she supported, the girls, and the way she supported me through this process was unprecedented. So that is what was beautiful about working with Lizzo. That's just like honest to God truth. She was just there, present, available, even though she was busy.
How did she support you?
Lizzo supported me in a lot of ways. I mean, #1, bringing me on as a director of color who came from, who's a documentarian coming into a new genre. So, sometimes, like you said, you have so many people when you're a filmmaker of color that want to, I don't want to use the word Trump, but, supersede their opinions. Like, there's so many people who want to have your position sometime, maybe feel like I've been here so many years, and this young director, this new director in this genre wants to do this. She fully supported the newness and the creativity. So did Amazon. And so I loved, I just really, really loved that about Lizzo. She supported me. She wanted me there. And as it's come out, she's been supporting me and the girls and telling the story. So a lot of artists don't always do that.
I have taken up more of your time than I should have, but it was such a delight to talk to you about this show. I know a lot of people really responded to it and loved it. Thank you so much, Nneka.
Thank you so much as well.
Thank you for joining us today. Be the first to know about upcoming Wrap screenings and get access to exclusive content and premium events by becoming a Wrap Pro member. Join now to take advantage of a free trial. For all screening information, including past screenings you may have missed, please visit TheWrap, WRAP.com. Click on the events tab in the main navigation bar. Bye.